The Emotional Intelligence Morning Routine. How to start your day like a leader. First thing that comes to mind for me at the beginning of each day that is truly most important is right after you wake up. Starting with gratitude. Starting with solitude. And I would define that in a couple of different ways. If you tend to be more of faith and more religious, which I am, it's beginning in prayer to God. And so there's kind of a couple things, right? Let's break this down by solitude. One, starting with prayer. Asking God in these instances in prayer for what you want, for the things, for the blessings that you hope to have in your life. But it's also the other side of that coin, which is the gratitude piece. It's being thankful and being grateful for the blessings and for the opportunities and things that you have in your life. If you're waking up each morning in a safe environment, in a home, especially if you're surrounded by loved ones, you have an excellent job, you have safety, security, a lot of these things that we think about when we think of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, for instance. If you have a lot of these things in your life, not taking that for granted, finding the happiness, the gratitude that comes from having these blessings in your life. So I would really begin with that aspect of solitude, starting with prayer, starting with asking a higher power for the blessings that you want to have in your life, being grateful for the things that you do have in your life. And when you start in that type of mindset, the science and the research shows us that a mindset of gratitude is one that literally our mind, we cannot be stressed, we cannot be anxious, we cannot be worried or fearful about the future when we're expressing gratitude and thanks for the blessings and the opportunities that we have in our lives. And so start there. That's what's going to help to create more of an optimistic look and view at everything that you have in front of you. So you start to think about the mindset, right? It's the thoughts, it's the words, it's the actions that we take. So our thoughts, if we begin in gratitude, and if we begin by asking for positive things, not just for ourselves, but for the people in our lives. If you're a leader, and in some cases that might just be gratitude for the team that you have, praying, asking for, hoping for opportunities and good fortune for the people in your lives. It could just be your family, it could be your team at work, it could be if you're a coach or member of the community, the people around you in your community. So I think if you begin with that, that's something that definitely helps to shape an emotionally intelligent mindset. And you start there with solitude there in the morning in the first part of the day. So those is what begins with the thoughts, and in the words, you can speak some of these things out loud. But I like to go over not just goals, but habits. Start to speak these things out. Start to write these things out. So that actually begins with what you write, the ideas that you formulate, and helps with prioritization. So having a plan for each week and for each day. Speaking and writing your dreams and goals over your lives, which is actually backed by habits of having these things in your calendar, holding yourself to account at different parts of the day. And you can use your iPhone for that, or you can use any calendar-based tool like iCal or Outlook, for instance, to hold yourself accountable to these things. So actually making a verbal and written commitment through words to the things that you are aiming to achieve or the things that you want to have in your life. It makes it easier to achieve things that way. We are more wired. The neuroscience shows us that when we're able to verbally and also in writing put down exactly what we're aiming to achieve and what we want, we're that much more psychologically able to commit to it. And through all the actions that you take each day. So being willing to commit, having the courage and confidence to act. And that involves the things that we might psychologically want to do, that we might be more passionate about, or we might be naturally more confident about doing. But it also involves the things that confrontation might come with it, or they're not as easy for us to do. So whether it's desire, whether it's the ease or the difficulty of doing something. And we're all naturally, most of us are naturally averse to having a tough conversation or confronting ourselves about a behavior or a habit that we've gotten into that we need to fix or change, or confronting the performance or the behavior of someone else, especially if you find yourself in the professional workplace and needing to address something like that, which is always a sticky topic, right? And no one really relishes those conversations. But what I would ask you to think about, one big tool that I always give to everyone that I work with, is create a list of things that through reflection you can really think about. These are maybe things that I've looked to avoid, or I've tried to avoid because I either don't want to do it, or it's hard, or I may not necessarily see it as important, but it keeps getting pushed down the road, and by not doing it, I'm losing, or I'm not benefiting, or perhaps even more significantly, the other person that I would aim to help by having a tough conversation, they're not benefiting as a result of that feedback. But beginning with that morning routine of setting out for the day, and it starts with self-care. It starts after our thoughts, words, and actions, and what we're willing to commit to with the food that we eat, and eating a healthy and nutritious diet. If it's possible for you to do this, beginning with physical exercise, it could be swimming, it could be going for a walk. If you're physically able, doing some calisthenics, or it could just be a 15-minute workout. And so much of the research around physical exercise shows us that by adding those components to our day, it equips our minds as well. So much of what physical workout really comes back to in the end is that we're exercising ourselves mentally and emotionally, and it might even be helping us with stress reduction. So building these items and building in these things to your day, that if you could look at the scope and say, if I do all of these things, they're going to help me both from what I aim to accomplish, they're going to help my mental and emotional well-being, and they're going to elevate everybody around me. And you can even begin with those three things. If you really start there and you're genuinely focused on trying to help other people as well as yourself, you're going to create more of that growth mindset that is geared toward opportunity, that is willing to psychologically commit and execute on everything that you plan to do. And having time at the end of the day for reflection. And again, that starts with a morning routine, but kind of finishes up with how you even close out that day. So finishing your business day or your personal day with gratitude, with prayer, and with reflection. Thanking people, recognizing the people in your family, and just showing appreciation to them. Giving them a compliment, showing them some love. It's going to bring a lot more enjoyment and positivity to your life. That's so much of how you begin each day and close each day and live each day with an emotionally intelligent mindset. It's going to have a ripple effect on your life and in all of the ways that you show up in thought, word, and action. So start there. One of the best ways to become a champion is by having an emotionally intelligent mindset. You can check out more tips at chrisdconnors.com. Thanks for checking me out, and we'll see you next time.